After all the stress of that one super busy month that I talked about in that last video, click up here if you want to watch that, I decided to treat myself to a little rest and relaxation by getting high on weed edibles and going to the movies. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was exceptionally high that day, probably like an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. And like most of you, I'm sure, when I get that high, I love to eat because of the hyperphagia. Hyperphagia is the scientific term for the munchies, but I don't say the munchies because I'm a fucking adult. So I'm at the movies having my hyperphagia, and I decide to swing by the grocery store on my way back so I can pick up a couple of snacks to enjoy at home. So after the movie, I go to the grocery store and I'm looking at all the different kinds of snacks, all the different kinds of pretzels, and I got some music in my headphones, and I'm just enjoying life, high as a kite, when all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I look over, and it's some woman that I'm pretty sure I've never met before. And remember, I am exceptionally high right now. So I take out my headphone, and she says, "Sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to let you know that I love your podcast." Now, this is an extremely weird thing for me to hear. Because yes, I do have a podcast, Famous Dead People. And yes, we do have a good number of listeners. But as far as I know, my podcast is not so popular that people should be stopping me at the grocery store. Because in order to get recognized from a podcast, which is not a visual medium, it would need to be so popular that people go out of their way to look up what you look like. And again, I am high. So I am at a complete loss for how this woman could possibly know me through my podcast. And I start to think to myself, holy shit, am I famous? Did I get so high that I forgot that I'm famous? I mean, I just got back from being on stand-up tour. We had some pretty big audiences, so maybe I've just blown up in the past 5 days. After what felt like 20 minutes, I managed to cobble together half a dozen brain cells. And I tell this woman thank you, and I ask her how she recognized me. And it ends up being a pretty normal explanation. She knows me from doing improv, so case closed. So I tell her thank you again, and I walk away with my pretzels, and I just start laughing, because I'm like, wow, what a fun thing to have happened to a high person. So if you see me out in public and you think that I'm high, try to say something that's gonna mess with me. Like walk up to me and be like, "Hey Jarret, sorry I'm late." Because now I'm freaking out about the fact that I'm supposed to know you and that also we had plans. Or come up to me and be like, "Hey, sorry to interrupt, I just wanted to let you know that you have the most comfortable sofa." And I'll be like, how the fuck does this person know about my sofa? It has been brought to my attention that some of you don't know that 2 years ago I wrote a book of political satire called The Kellyanne Conway Technique. Some of you might not even know that Kellyanne Conway is a person who exists. And to those lucky few, let me first say congratulations. I'm extremely jealous. You're crushing it. And I will also let you know that Kellyanne Conway is the woman who ran Trump's campaign for president in 2016, and I wrote an entire book making fun of her, because she's the worst. You don't need to know anything about politics to enjoy it. It's a super funny book regardless. And if you want to pick up a copy, they're available everywhere that books are sold. Obviously, you can go to Amazon, you can go to Barnes & Noble. I would prefer, of course, that you use this super cool website that hooks you up with a local bookstore that sells it. That way we can help support small business. But if you want an autographed copy of the Kellyanne Conway Technique, the only place you can get that is on my website, jarretberenstein.com/store. All you gotta do is click the Order Now button. I know making an Order Now button it's not that impressive, but I'm really proud of myself that I did that, so I hope you enjoy it.